Good morning and welcome back to Black Bear Forge. It's another chilly day in the shop this morning. It's almost like late December and winter mean the same thing around here or something. But it's down in the 20s, so I thought we'd get right to work, turn that forge on and warm the shop up. Today I'm going to go for something that I think is going to be relatively simple, but it has an element I've never tried before, so we'll see how that works. I'm going to take a piece of 3/4 inch square bar, that's 20 mil square bar. I'm going to cut this off. This is way more than I need, so I have no idea how much I'm going to use in the long run. Now I'm going to try to make a ceiling hook with a threaded lag screw type end on it, about a 1/4 inch lag screw or wood screw type thread. And I've never done that wood screw type thread before. A lot of people have theorized that if you just make it a nice square bar and twist it, that it will thread in fine, but I haven't tried it, so let's try that today, see how that works. The other way to make wood screw threads is to very laboriously hand file them in. I've never been able to find a die that will cut wood screw threads. I think historically those were done by machine, and the ones done by individual blacksmiths were probably hand filed. But we'll see if this works. Somebody actually sent me a great big bolt a while back that looked like it was done this way, so there is some precedent that it really does work. And I think I've seen some other smiths doing this, but I really don't know how well it works because it's not something you see very often. So enough of that. We're going to create a shoulder using the guillotine tool, draw out the part that will be the screw. Then we'll create another softer shoulder with a fuller in the guillotine tool and draw that end out into the hook. That should leave us with a nice shoulder up here that will go right up against the ceiling when we screw the hook in the ceiling to hang our potted plant or a light fixture or whatever it is we want to hang from the ceiling. Let's start by butchering in just a little bit of this. I don't think it needs a real long threaded section. I'm going to create a nice square shoulder centered on this. That should work. We've got some heat. Let's start drawing this out a little bit. Try not to mess up your shoulder, so I've got my hammer tipped here. Now we'll go to a set of tenoning dies under the guillotine tool. Leave us about a 1/4 inch square. I don't think is real critical what the size is, as long as you get it kind of even. This allows you to work right up to that shoulder on the inside of the guillotine tool. That thing starts bouncing like that, means you pretty much hit the bottom of it. I'm not going to draw this out to a sharp point because old wood screw threads did not have points. It wasn't until sometime in the 1800s that they made a machine that could put a point on them. So I'm just more concerned about trying to get nice crisp corners on this that will bite into the wood when we screw it in. Then I'm not going to do anything else to that till the end. I'll use that to hold on to for part of the hook. So next thing we want to do is fuller in just behind that with a set of fullers. That shoulder will go just maybe a 1/2 inch back from the previous shoulder. And this one's fullered in, so it's going to be soft in the transition, not actually a sharp shoulder here. I'm going to take this down to maybe 1/2 or 3/8 of an inch in there like that. Then we're going to draw this out from there. I'm going to start drawing that out in the guillotine tool. Just because I've got it out and it's handy, just don't get up into your original shoulder and the part for the screw there. But this way I can create a nice transition where I'll be less likely to damage that. That helps get that started quite nicely. And of course, drawing out over the horn makes this a little bit faster and more efficient. And you can see where this is bent and I need to straighten it out, but because this is cooling off in here, that creates a stress point right where the cool material hits the hot material. So I'm going to heat it up before I straighten it. It doesn't have to be perfect at this point. I just want to make sure that we've got something relatively straight before I cut it. I'm just going to cut it about there, just a wild guess on what I think I want for the hook. Probably it's going to be a very long hook. That's what we're going to work with. The rest of that just goes back in the scrap pile, or back in the bucket. Go back over the horn and get this close to the size I want it. I don't know if you can see or not, but every time I reach the back, I'm turning it 90 degrees and pulling back up to the top to draw out. So advance, turn, come back, advance, turn, and so on. So most of the drawing out done, let's bring it back to the face of the anvil. I'm keeping that second shoulder, the fuller line, back off the edge here. I'm getting pretty much what I want for the hook here. I kind of like that long taper. I thought about making it more parallel, but now that I see this, I think I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to knock the corners off the hook part, even though I didn't on the screw part. Now, depending on what you want this to look like up in here, you might want to get in there with a file and clean that up. I think I'm okay with it the way it is. So I'm not going to put a little curl or fishtail on the end. I'm just going to gently bend that over. And go to our hook bending jig here. We'll go a little further than that. One of these days I'll get the overhead camera rig mounted over here so I can do this without having to move the camera out of the way. I'm just making sure that it's kind of straight up and down through there. That's pretty much the hook I want. Now I need to deal more with that screw thread. The first thing I want to do is just make sure this is still straight. I'm going to let this cool, and then we're going to do a little bit of file work to really clean up that shoulder. If you have a square monkey tool, you could use a monkey tool on this, but I do not, so I'm going to do it with a file. I also see a little cold shut there, so I'm going to have to file that deep enough to get rid of that cold shut. I'm just going to use a big square file and get in there. One of these days I need to make some square monkey tools for this kind of stuff. Sounds like a good idea for a video to me. So now I'm going to leave this too long so I got something to grab hold of when we do the twist. Now there's a risk that I'm going to shear this off while I'm twisting it. Like I say, I've never tried this quite like this before. Okay, it's twisting faster in here. I need more heat there. I think I'll go to a torch. The need to go to a torch makes this a little bit less convenient, but this shoulder here sucks all the heat out right there and it cools off pretty quick. If you like the idea, experiment with it. Maybe you can come up with some better ways to do this than what I'm working on right here. Okay, so now that's twisting faster, and that works out fine because I can work my way out to the end. And how many times around? I have no idea. Remember, you've got 4 threads you're cutting here, 4 leads because of 4 corners. So it is not as fast a spiral as a regular wood screw, no matter what you're doing here. Keeping it even is pretty important, I think. There's also a reason tapering this would be problematic because the skinnier part will always twist at a much faster rate than the thicker part will. I think I'm going to call that good. I'm just going to very lightly straighten it in the vise, and I'm going to then cut off that excess there. Half on each side because that's all the room I've got. Now, if you want to try putting a point on this and maybe taking a little chainsaw file and filing that groove that follows the threads around to get the point threaded so you can put it in something without pre-drilling it, go ahead and try it. Let me know how it goes. But for me, I'm just going to drill a pilot hole that is a little bit undersized and hope that there's enough grab in these threads that it works well. Have no idea, like I say, never tried this before. This drill guide is a good way to see how big this really is. So it goes into a 5/16 hole. Probably not. I think I'll go 9/32 and see how that holds. And if that doesn't work, then we can go smaller for another one since I'm just testing in a scrap. So if you're putting that in a beam in your ceiling, you'll have to pre-drill it. Okay, that's way too big. If I grab the wrong bit there, but that doesn't work. I also just noticed something. Because of the way I twisted this, this is reverse thread, so it's going to go in a whole lot easier backwards. So that tightens up very nicely now. Yeah, I'm more impressed with that than I thought I was. So that actually holds much better than I thought it might. Figuring out that I had my threads reversed was kind of an important thing there. So I twisted this clockwise. If you want standard right-hand threads on the finished product, twist it counterclockwise. But that does work. It holds, it shoulders up tight, it doesn't really want to move. Really, that worked much better than I expected, even though it was a little bit fussy, and I doubt that I'm going to go into business making lag bolts if I have to get out a torch just to do every single set of threads. But it is possible, it does work, and it makes for a very nice ceiling hook if you have a solid timber to screw that into. Clearly, it's not going to work in drywall. I think I'm going to see if I can find someplace in my house. Since we have a log house, we got plenty of places we can put something like this. So I'm going to see if we can use it there somewhere. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button down there. Feel free to stick around, watch a few of the other videos, share the videos with your friends. If you'd like to provide financial support for the videos here at Black Bear Forge, there are links in the video description for both PayPal and Patreon. Those are merely donations. The content is free. In the meantime, I hope you have time in your day to get out to your shop, make something, try something new, even if you don't think it's going to work right. You might be surprised. But be safe, wear your safety glasses, and we'll see you for the next one.